Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to our compliance YouTube channel. In this channel, we will be bringing you the latest and the greatest around compliance, specifically POPIA, as we are based in South Africa. By we, I mean Griessel Consulting, that is the Afrikaans way of pronouncing it if you're watching this from overseas, and Convexum Solutions, that's technologies. We will be going through rules, regulations, technologies you can use, processes, and we will also be going through tips and tricks. Well, let's start. What exactly is POPIA and why the hype? The POPIA Act was introduced in 2013. Eventually, everyone now has to be compliant by June 30th, 2021, next year. Not sure if you saw it, but there was some news released recently around this. But what does POPIA do exactly? POPIA protects personal individuals and organizations. It is slightly different to the European regulation GDPR. It regulates the manner in which personal information can be processed inside the South African borders. It provides rights and remedies to protect individual persons' information. It establishes measures to promote, enforce, and fulfill the rights protected by this act. But what is personal information? Well, there's a long list, but it is basically anything that can identify a person or is private to a person or organization. Some of it is classified as special personal information, but we'll get to that a bit later. You may ask, well, why should I care about POPIA? POPIA has strict requirements on how personal information must be handled by individuals or organizations. There can be all sorts of trouble, like fines or being sued for damages in court. There is a special information regulator that will make sure that this law is complied to, and who can also issue regulations and provide us with guidance, like ourselves. Still not sure what that means? Let's look at a practical example, like employment information. To explain this, I'm going to hand you over to our labor lawyer, Judith Griessel.
Hi everybody, so I'm Judith and I'm part of the Griessel Consulting, and today I'm just going to give you a very brief example of what POPIA will be like in real life, and we're going to talk about employment and POPIA specifically today. So if I need to explain how it will work for employment, think about all the information that is typically changing hands between an employer and an employee right from the very first day and from the time when the employee first applies for the job. Now, POPIA will cover all of the information that the employer may collect from that first day, or may use or distribute or store about that person, that employee from day one. So the employee in this case will be the data subject because the information belongs to them, and the employer will be the responsible party in terms of processing that information. Now, the information can be physical documents or it can be digital records. It can include books, labels, maps, graphics, photos, videos, basically any data on any sort of digital device. And we have the octopus there because POPIA and information and records is going to go everywhere in your business. We're talking about employment, but it's going to go into marketing, it's going to go into your finances and into your operations, so it's going to be everywhere. So, for example then, the records that we will be talking about in employment, anything to do with that employee in terms of records that's on company service or kept in the HR offices, or that are on laptops or tablets or even cell phones or in the cloud. All of that will be covered by POPIA's protection. Now, you get basically two types of personal information. The general personal information will be any information about the employee that affects his or her privacy or that identifies the employee, either on its own, like a name, or if it's a number, like an ID number or a staff number, if it can be put together with the information that the employer has available, other information, it's still identifiable. So any of that, either on its own or together, will qualify as general personal information of the employee. For example, the CV, the employee's bank details or credit records, the staff file or the leave records, the employee's performance reviews, qualifications, who the pension beneficiaries are, etc., etc. All of those are records, general sort of personal information. Now, the special personal information is very specifically listed. It's not all of them there, but for example, the employee's beliefs, race, ethnicity, union membership, any sort of medical records or medical aid records or anything like that, health, results of health tests, biometric information or alleged criminal offences, and so on and so forth. Now, that type of special information has got even stricter protection than the general personal information, and it can generally only be processed by the employer with a very specific and informed consent of the data subject. Okay, so now that we have the information and the employer knows that they must be careful with it, what must happen? All of the personal information must be handled by the employer in line with the POPIA principles. Now, there are 8 principles. I'm not going to go into detail, that's for another day. But those principles basically explain the whole sort of life cycle of information inside of a business. What that means in practice for the employer specifically, keeping with our example, is that the collection of the information must be for a valid reason. Not because it's just nice to have, but it must be a legitimate reason why the employer says that they need the specific information. It should also be used only for that purpose that it was collected for, and not be used for something else or sold to someone as part of a database and stuff like that. The information must be accurate and it should be updated as need be from time to time. The employer must also make sure that there's secure storage and that that information cannot be accessed by someone who's not authorized to access it. And of course, that security and authorization regards the physical security as well as digital security. And then also, one of the things is that POPIA says that the employer must destroy the information when it is no longer needed for a legitimate reason. Unless, of course, the employee, when they leave, they can consent to it. Or sometimes there's, for example, employee record must be kept for a certain number of years, according to the law. Those would be exceptions to that rule. So my advice, just to end this quick bite of information, is that employers, you should find out what your obligations are, get your ducks in a row properly, and put your measures in place before the deadline's coming. And keep watching our POPIA Bites. We'll help you to get there. Back to Warren.
Thanks, Judith. Now let's talk a little bit about the technology aspects of this. Your company issues you a laptop or a computer. You have your personal information on that computer. You have other people's information on that computer. But what else? You may have an iPhone that syncs with your computer, regardless of whether you like it or not, whether you know it does or not. All your emails have personal information of someone, and taking the laptop home also introduces a bunch of other leaks. So from a technology perspective, there needs to be security, there needs to be backup, and there needs to be a process put in place that disallows any form of cross-pollination, if you may say, of certain information. This also applies to your cell phone. Your cell phone has your emails on it maybe. It could possibly have employer details. It could possibly have employee details. That is also a risk. But that is where we come in to assist you. Our specialties are in the data management, the cybersecurity, the digital transformation, and the compliance law data governance aspect of a corporate environment. Anyways, guys, we hope you liked this video. If you liked it, please subscribe over here. Is that right? Please subscribe over here. And if you have any questions, any suggestions, or anything you want to add to the conversation, we are more than happy to have a listen. Otherwise, give us a call, pop us an email, and cheers for now, and see you guys soon.